Good morning to all and welcome to Corporate Finance online classes. This is Dr. Mahesh M. Manjeri, Assistant Professor from Department of Management Studies, SDM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. Okay, so dear students, I hope you can recall that we are learning chapter number 9, Capital Budgeting, and we are now learning evaluation techniques. Okay, when we say evaluation, the techniques that are used to evaluate long-term investment projects. Why to evaluate? Because the company should select and invest in such investment proposals which promises to maximize shareholders' wealth. So why the company should take such a decision? Because the objective of financial management itself is to maximize shareholders' wealth. So these things you should never forget if you are really planning to take finance as your specialization and planning to make finance as your career. Okay, otherwise it's very difficult to make a career. Okay, so with that, okay, then let me share the PDF file. So students, I hope you can see the PDF file.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so you can recall that evaluation techniques are broadly classified into traditional and time adjusted. So traditional techniques doesn't take into account the concept of time value of money. So among them, we have learned average rate of return, ARR, and payback period, PBP. Okay, but by incorporating the element of time value of money, okay, the payback period can be modified, okay, as discounted payback period. So in the previous class, we learned about it. Okay, so please remember. And in a payback period, okay, there is a payback period of annuity where the estimated stream of cash inflows are equal each year. Okay. So for example, 8,000 rupees each year for 5 years. Okay, that is the payback period of annuity. And the another situation was a payback period of a mixed stream of cash flows, where each year the estimated cash inflows are different. So today we are moving on to the time adjusted techniques. Hence, they take into account the concept of time value of money. Means they convert the future values to present value so that the future estimated income can become comparable with the present level of investment. Okay. So there are three techniques. One is the net present value, which you have already learned about it now. Okay. Then, but anyway, we are going to learn it again. Second is internal rate of return. Third is probability index. Okay. So let's make a beginning to learn the first discounted cash flow technique, net present value. Okay. So the second type of evaluation techniques are time adjusted techniques. They refer to the discounted cash flow techniques because they consider the concept of time value of money. They convert the future stream of cash flows to their present value so that they become comparable with the present level of investment. So in that, the first one is a net present value. Okay. So net present value is found by subtracting a project's initial investment from the present value of its cash inflows, discounted at the firm's cost of capital. Okay. So definitely, I will not speak about this. Okay. So there is nothing big thing. What I just spoke here, net present value is found by, we have already done it. Remember, in the three categories of project proposal: single proposal, replacement situation, and mutually exclusive. We have found net present value. How we found out? Just remember, you don't read. We first found out the total cash outlay for the initial investment. Then we estimated the future stream of cash inflows, right? Okay. And then we subtracted the, we then found out the present value. and then we subtracted the total cash outflow from the total cash present value of total cash inflow. So if the difference was positive, accept the project. If the difference is negative, reject the project. That difference is nothing but net present value. So you should not get distracted again. Same concept, no change. Okay. So net present value is found by subtracting the projects. 1 minute. Just a minute. Net present value is found by subtracting a project's initial investment from the present value of its cash inflows. The present value of cash inflows, okay, is estimated after discounting the firm's cost of capital. So you forget about this equation. It is nowhere we are going to use it. Just think about this. Total present value of cash inflows minus initial investment. That is only the equation. Nothing big. Nothing big. Okay. So if you have any doubt, you please ask. But don't ask anything about this equation. It's not required. Net present value is equal to initial total cash outlay or initial investment minus total of present values of cash inflows. Whatever it is, the difference is called net present value. I have done it 3 times already. So accept reject rule is also very simple, and we have done that also. Except if net present value of the project is positive. Except if net present value of the project is positive. Okay, now just let me see. Again, checking your understanding or knowledge of the subject, which we have already discussed. So it says except if net present value of the project is positive. Okay. It is okay in case of a single proposal and a replacement situation. What about mutually exclusive or multiple projects? If all the projects NPV is positive only, then which project you will invest? So if there are 3-4 projects or there are 2 projects and the NPV of both the projects is positive or NPV of all the 4 projects is positive, how you will select one project?
Highest value, sir.
Very good, Swati. Okay. So we have, if there are 4 multiple projects and all projects NPV is positive, in that case, we have to select that project whose NPV is highest. Why we have to choose the project with highest NPV? Our objective is to maximize shareholders' wealth. See, this is how things, anywhere you go, okay, even in your career, these basics, if you have properly learned, it will help you make a career in finance. Otherwise, you forget. Okay, so now we'll go ahead with a simple example. Okay, so again, data is taken from example 9.6. So that is why so many things I am giving in. Okay, written assignments are given. Written materials are given to you. Typed materials, you can say, so that you can read, understand, and attend the class. You should not forget some information from example 9.6. So we are going to find out for example 9.6, calculate net present value for machines A and B for the following cash inflows. Consider cost of capital at 10%. Okay. So for example 9.6, calculate net present value for machines A and B for the following cash inflows. Okay. Consider cost of capital at 10%. Okay. So these are the cash inflows for machine A and machine B. They are given for years 1 to 5. Okay. So the life of the machine A as well as machine B, okay, is 5 years. I hope you should recall cost of the machine of 56,125 rupee. Machine A as well as machine B. Okay, so I hope you should recall that information. So machine A 14,000, year 1 cash inflows are 14,000, year 2 16,000, year 3 18,000, year 4 20,000, and year 5 25,000. Cash inflows, estimated cash inflows for machine B For year 1, 22,000, year 2, 20,000, year 3, 18,000, year 4, 16,000, and year 5, 17,000 rupees. And they mention that this cash inflow for year 5 for machine A and machine B includes salvage value. Okay, so now those who have learned properly, okay, case 1, case 2, and case 3. That is case of single proposal, replacement situation, and mutually exclusive proposal, where we have already calculated net present value. Same thing we are going to do here. So this will be a smaller one, as cash inflows are given. There we estimated the cash inflows. I hope you can recall. Okay. So now we need to prepare this table for solution. Calculations of present value of CFAT. Calculations of present value of cash flows after taxes. So why we are going to find out the present value of cash flows after taxes? Please remember, to find out net present value. So how we can find out net present value? By subtracting a project's initial investment, 56,125 rupees, from the present value of its cash flows discounted at the firm's cost of capital, which is 10% here in the given problem. That is the reason why we are going to find out the present value of cash flows after taxes. So once we find the present value of each stream of cash flows from year 1 to 5, we are going to total it and we are going to minus it from the cost of investment of the project. Okay, so initial investment, which is cost of machine A, is 56,125 rupees. Okay, so I hope you can recall. Okay, so this is one comprehensive table, machine for machine A as well as machine B. We are going to calculate the present value of their respective CFATs. Okay, so this column we are going to write years, year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Machine A will have 3 columns and machine B will have 3 columns. So machine A, first column CFAT, second column present value factor, third column present value. Same way, machine B, cash flows after taxes, present value factor, and present value of each year. Okay. Now, so which technique we are going to consider, compounding technique or discounting technique here to find out the present value?
Discounting technique.
Very good, discounting technique. Okay, in discounting technique, there are 3 cases: single cash flow, annuity, and perpetuity. Which one?
Single cash flow.
Very good. Okay, single cash flow, because each year the amount is different. So present value of single cash flow, which table to refer?
Table A3, sir.
Excellent, excellent students. Okay, so table A3 we are going to refer. Okay, so anyway, I will show you the table every time I solve the problem. So this column, machine A is cash flows after taxes as given in the problem. I am going to write first 14,000 year 1, year 2 16,000, year 3 18,000, year 4 20,000, and year 5 25,000 rupees. Okay, so is the cash flows. Now I'm going, okay, I can also write the cash flows after taxes as given in the problem in the column of machine B CFAT. Year 1 22,000, year 2 20,000, year 3 18,000, year 4 16,000, and year 5 17,000 rupees. Because the present value factors will be same for both the machines, for year 1 to 5 at 10% interest column. So I can refer the table only once. So now I'm going to refer time value tables. Okay, so as it is properly answered by students, table A3 is what we are going to refer, 10% interest column. Okay, so table A3 present value of 1 rupee. So 10% interest column from year 1 to year 5. Okay, so any one student, can you read these values, present values?
Yes, sir.
Swati, you can read, please. 10% interest column, year 1 value.
0.909.
Right. Yeah, go ahead.
For second year, 0.826. Third year, 0.751. Fourth year, 0.683. Fifth year, 0.621.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. Thank you so much. Okay, so these values I'm going to write here in the table. Okay. So for year 1, 0.909, year 2, 0.826, year 3, 0.751, year 4, 0.683, and year 5, 0.621. Same present values I will write here also. Okay, so your job will be done quickly. So now how can I find present value? So the amount divided by present value interest factor. So 14,000 into 0.909 is equal to 12,276 rupees is the present value of 14,000 rupees to be received in year 1. 16,000 into 0.826 is equal to 13,216 is the present value of 16,000 rupees to be received in year 2. 18,000 into 0.751 is equal to 13,518 is the present value of 18,000 rupees to be received in year 3. 20,000 into 0.683 is equal to 13,660 is the present value of 20,000 rupees to be received in year 4. 25,000 into 0.621 is equal to 15,525 rupees to be received in, 15,525 rupees is the present value of 25,000 rupees to be received in year 5. So I'm going to make a total of this column of present values. 68,645. Okay, this is the present value, total of present value of cash inflow for machine A minus investment in machine A. That will give you net present value. That's it. Then same way I'm going to multiply and find out the present value for machine B. So amount 22,000 into 0.909 equals to 19,998 rupees is the present value of 22,000 rupees to be received in year 1. 20,000 into 0.826 is equal to 16,520 rupees is the present value of 20,000 rupees to be received in year 2. 18,000 into 0.751 is the present value of 13,518 rupees. This is the present value of 18,000 rupees to be received in year 3. 16,000 into 0.683 is equal to 10,928 rupees is the present value of 16,000 rupees to be received in year 4. 17,000 into 0.621 is equal to 10,557 rupees is the present value of 17,000 rupees to be received in year 5. So I'm going to make a total of this column as well. So 71,521 rupees is the total of present value of cash inflows for machine B. Okay, that's it. Now the next part is simple. So machine A, net present value of machine A. Initial investment is 56,125 rupees or cost of machine A. You can recall from example 9.6. So net present value is equal to present value, total present value of cash inflows of machine A, 68,645. Here we have calculated it. Minus cost of machine or investment in machine A, 56,125 rupees. So the net present value is positive. Net present value of machine A is 12,520 rupees. 12,520 rupees. The same way we are going to find out the net present value of machine B. So look here, the total of present value of cash inflows for machine B is 71,521. Once again, I'm reinforcing the concepts. As you can see here, the initial cash inflows of machine A 14,000, 16,000, okay, are lower than the initial cash inflows for machine B, that are 22,000 and 20,000. Okay, that is the reason why the present value of cash streams of year 1 and year 2 are higher, okay, compared to machine A. Okay, compared to machine A, right? That is the reason why the total of the present value of cash inflow for machine B is greater than the total of machine A. Okay, so this is the concept what I asked you and Keshav answered. We can recall. So net present value of machine B, simple. Initial investment is 56,125 rupees. Data from example 9.6. So net present value is equal to total of the present value of cash inflows of machine B, 71,521 rupees minus cost of machine or initial investment 56,125 rupees is equal to 15,396 rupees. Okay. So who will make the decision for me now? Decision is pending.
Machine
Yeah,
B.
Ruchita. Ruchita, can you speak once again?
Machine B, sir. Machine B, sir.
You make a small sentence.
Net present value of machine B is higher, so decision will be made on machine B.
Very good. Okay. The company, yes, very good. The company should decide to invest in machine B as its net present value is higher than machine A. Then again, why the company should invest in a project that promises higher net present value than other projects? Because the objective of financial management is to maximize shareholders' wealth, and a higher NPV definitely will result in higher shareholders' wealth. Okay, so that was about net present value. Okay, actually, company, as I said, a company can accept both projects as both NPVs are positive. This decision will be made if the company doesn't take into account the cash flow concept, okay, or financial management approach. But once you consider the financial management approach, okay, you need to accept machine B only as its NPV is higher. Okay, so what Ruchita said is very right. Good. So anybody having any questions? Anybody having any doubts or questions?
No, sir.
Okay, that's great. Huh? See, though those are paying attention, I hope majority of you, it may look very simple. Okay, but the problem I'll tell you. See, I'm sharing so much of resources in the beginning. Okay, and my students very well know in next class what I am going to teach. So you are mentally prepared. And if you are reading the resources given, and if you are writing the problems in the fair notebook at the end of the day, okay, means you are putting efforts. That is first point. Second, the things are explained in a very slow pace and more in depth. Okay, along with the basic fundamentals of financial management. Okay, so and we consider one technique at a time, so it becomes easy to understand. Okay, but when the examination, what I have told, all the techniques will come together, all the problems will come together. Then you need to recall, read, understand, identify which technique I must use. Okay, so there only one thing comes into help: practice. Practice makes man perfect. The more you practice, the more it will be convenient for you, easy for you in the tests and examination. Okay, so next we'll move on to the second technique, the second discounted cash flow technique, internal rate of return. Okay. Yeah. The internal rate of return is the measure of an investment's rate of return. Okay, it is simply a rate of return. Okay, so there is no difference between internal rate of return and a rate of return. Huh? Okay, or return on investment. The internal rate of return is a measure of an investment's rate of return. Okay, so when we say this is the rate of return from an investment, you are talking about internal rate of return. That's it. The term internal refers to the fact that calculation excludes external factors such as inflation, cost of capital, and various financial risks. That is simply for that reason it is referred to as internal rate of return, or it is just a rate of return or return on your investment. That's it. So what is the accept reject rule? Okay. Compare the actual IRR, means the calculated one. Compare the actual internal rate of return with the required rate of return. It will be given in the problem. The required rate of return will be given in the problem. Okay. And then how to make a decision? Except if the actual internal rate of return, which is denoted by small r, is greater than the required rate of return. Only in that case it can maximize shareholders' wealth, as there will be profit. And reject if the actual internal rate of return is lesser than the required rate of return. There will be loss. Okay, so it cannot maximize shareholders' wealth. Okay, so we are going to begin to learn the first step, determining internal rate of return for annuity. Determining internal rate of return for annuity. Okay, now at this point in time, I hope all the students know what is annuity. Annuity is a stream of equal annual cash flows. So IRR is internal rate of return. This is a second time adjusted technique. It is the evaluation technique that we are learning. Okay, for those who do not remember, weak memory. So this is what we are learning. We are now learning time adjusted techniques. Just now we completed the technique of net present value with an example. Now we are learning internal rate of return. We are learning internal rate of return. Okay. Yeah, we are here. Okay, now this procedure you need to recall, but as and when you solve more and more problems, yes, definitely it is easy. Okay, so I will tell where it is complicated, especially in chapter number 2, time value of money. Only there it is slightly confusing. Okay, but the more you practice, you can overcome the confusion. But remaining all are only lengthy problems. Okay, there is a lot of calculations required, and with the help of calculator, you can do it very easily. But you need to remember the process. That is more important. You need to remember the process. So first we are going to determine internal rate of return for annuity, stream of equal annual cash flows. And one more thing I would like to remind, okay, see in case of categories of projects, when you receive numerical problems, that is for single proposal, okay, as well as for replacement situation. We need to estimate the cash inflows. Remember, that is the additional job. We need to estimate the future cash inflows. And in mutually exclusive, they actually gave the estimated cash inflow itself. That is the reason why it was same for each year. And in evaluation techniques, you will be readily given the estimated cash inflows itself. So you will not have the additional burden of estimating cash inflows. What is given to you will be ready-made estimated cash inflows. You are only going to find out either net present value or internal rate of return or profitability index, or payback period, or like that. Remember. So the step 1 in determining internal rate of return for annuity is determine the payback period of the investment. It is simple, okay? So it is any 1 year's stream of cash inflow, okay, divided by life of the project. So determine payback period of the investment, okay, in which year the company will be able to recover its initial investment. That we need to determine. Second step, table A4. Since we are calculating, okay, internal rate of return for annuity, So we need to refer table A4. So in table A4, present value of an annuity, look for the payback period. Payback period is always in years. I hope you can recall. Look for the payback period, that is year row, that is equal to the closest to the life of the project. Say 3.456 means 3 years. 3.5 and above, 4 years, like that. Then in the year row, find two present values or discount factors closest to the payback period, but one bigger and one smaller than it. Okay, so when I solve the problem, you will understand what I am talking. Okay, but in the year row, find out two present values. Okay, so horizontally I am talking. Find out two present values or discount factors that are closest to payback period, but one bigger and one smaller. From the top row of the table, note interest rate corresponding to these present values. So when we choose two closest present values, each will have on the top their interest rates. So both the interest rate we need to find out. Okay, then we can determine actual internal rate of return by interpolation. Okay, by feeding the values into the equation given. Okay, so this is done. This interpolation is done either by directly using equation 9.11 or indirectly by finding present values of annuity, equation 9.12. Okay, so equation 9.1 is given here. Okay, so this equation, yes, you need to remember IRR, internal rate of return, is equal to small r minus PB minus DFR divided by DFRL minus DFRH. So PB is a payback period in years. DFR is discount factor for interest rate R. DFRL is a discount factor for lower interest rate. So two interest rates we are going to find out, I said. So DFRL is a discount factor for lower interest rate. So one will be higher, one will be lower. Remember this. Huh? And DFRH is the discount factor or present value factor for higher interest rate. So two, for example, 8% and 9%. So those present values we have to write. DFRL minus DFRH. Small r is either of the two interest rates used in the formula. Okay, so small r is either of the two interest rates used in the formula. Now please pay attention. Everyone please pay attention. Though we have written here r minus, as I said, two interest rate we are going to consider. One is smaller and one is greater. For example, 8 and 9. So the internal rate of return will be between 8 and 9%. Okay. So definitely it will not be 9 point something. Definitely it will be 8 point something. So if I am going to write the higher rate of interest, you have to consider any one. In my example, 8% or 9%. If I consider 9%, then it is correct. 9 minus whatever payback period and other values. What if I consider small r here? Between 8% and 9% interest, what if I consider r? What will happen to this sign? Anybody? Yes.